friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori, and today we are doing the first book haul of 2026. So I bought a few books, which was definitely in the cards for this year, but I have been so good, you guys. I am so proud of myself. And honestly, one of the things I wanted to talk about in this book haul video is why I'm doing a book restriction ban, because I know there's a lot of conversation going around the book space about minimalism and about, making sure that you're curating your library carefully, and I think that that is a great conversation to have. I'm actually a huge advocate for owning your own books. I think that having your own physical copies of books, if possible, is an absolutely great thing. And I've been slowly kind of curating my library into something that represents me as a reader, represents books that I absolutely love, that I want to be able to share with other people, that I want to be able to have my kids read, etc. So I have 3 different stacks of books that I'm going to show you guys today. One are the books that I have purchased since January. One is the books that I have been gifted or sent since January. And then the third stack is books that I have been slowly replacing. I've been moving through my mass market paperback bookshelf and getting rid of a lot of those because of the joint issues that I have in my hands. They're really hard for me to read. So the books that I can, I've been slowly replacing with larger copies, trade paperbacks, mostly with a little bit of hardcover thrown in there. We probably will have one more book haul in June, because I am going to do a massive bookstore shopping day with a dear friend of mine who's coming to celebrate my birthday in the next couple of weeks, and it is going to be a blast, and I cannot wait to be unleashed on the bookstores again, you guys. It's going to be great fun. But I've been really good up until now, and some of the books that I have purchased I've actually already read. The first 2 that I've already read are When True Night Falls and Crown of Shadows, which are both hardcover editions of C.S. Friedman's Cold Fire trilogy, books 1 and 2. I really liked this trilogy, you guys. I had a great time with it. It is dark fantasy, sci-fi, horror, classic fantasy, very introspective character work. It's kind of a deconstruction of immortality and vampirism and redemption and all of these things. And it deals with some pretty heavy topics, to be honest. And I think that Friedman delves into them in a way that is very nuanced. It is very intentional, very reflective, and I absolutely loved this series, and the more I think about it, the more I want to go back and reread it. So these are 2 books that I purchased that I've already read that will be staying on my shelves, which is pretty cool, because for those of you that don't know, typically if I give a book less than 3 stars, it doesn't stay on my shelves. Or if it's a book that I'm like, that was a good time, but I really don't see myself rereading it, and I don't think it's something that I would highly recommend to somebody else, I usually send it on its way. So these 2 passed the vibe check, and they are going to go up on my shelves, which I'm very excited about. Next up is Lords of Uncreation. This is book 3 in Adrian Tchaikovsky's sci-fi space opera trilogy, The Final Architecture. I have read the first 2 books, and I needed the 3rd one. Now, this is a chunk. It is the biggest one of the series, but I will say this series reads so easily. It is bingeable. It is definitely very fast-paced, and like a lot of other Adrian Tchaikovsky books, the concepts in here are just so creative and interesting. I have not finished the trilogy yet. I needed a little bit of a break after book 2 because it got a little bit more concept-focused than character-focused, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. So I wanted to give it a little bit of time before I jumped in to finish the final book. But I definitely will be finishing it in the next few months here, because it'll be nice to have another trilogy under my belt and more sci-fi, honestly, because I do still intend to read more sci-fi in the next year and just kind of add some sci-fi experience to my reading have read list. I don't know where that sentence was going, but anyways, I got this book. Back to the Cold Fire trilogy, there is a prequel, which you can see is much shorter than the rest of the books, and Nightborn is a prequel novella, short novel, that goes back in time to when the humans first landed on the planet of Urna, which is where everything takes place in the full trilogy. And I'm really excited about that. I think this is going to be a very dark fantasy magic first contact story, and the way that Friedman blends that science fiction and fantasy is so cool and so unique and interesting. I can't wait to read this. I'm very, very excited to get to this, and I'm actually hoping to read this in the very near future, maybe in the next month or two, just so I can get a little bit more of the world and a little bit more of the past history. So this one, I'm very, very excited. And also, I just think this is a really cool cover. Really like this one a lot. And I mean, to be honest, let's just talk about the Cold Fire covers in general. They're absolutely beautiful. Michael Whalen is a great artist. I think these are my favorite of his book covers. Staying on the sci-fi train, this is one I ordered actually not long ago because it was a book that I finally pulled the buying trigger on, because I've had it kind of in my cart in various websites for probably 6 to 8 months now. And when that happens, I usually eventually just give up. I finally just throw in the towel and I'm like, fine, you know what? Clearly this book needs to be read, and needs to be read by me soon, so I should just get it. And that was Lois McMaster Bujold's Shards of Honor. This is book 1 in her Vorkosigan saga, which is more sci-fi, and it's pretty short. I have heard so many good things about this series, you guys. So many good ones. It has been high on my sci-fi TBR for a long time, and what I think is that we have a military spaceship captain who meets like a pirate. There is an element of romance in this, and I'm not entirely sure what the premise of the story is beyond that, because I've intentionally kept it a little bit vague because I want to go into it pretty blind. But I have heard nothing but praise for this series, and I'm very, very excited to start it. And I was even more excited to start it when I saw how short it was. So I think this is going to be a very fast, very entertaining read. We went to a used bookstore about a month and a half ago, and I went into the classics section with my husband, and I found this little number. Gisli Sursen's Saga and the Saga of the People of Eyri. This is a epic story of an ancient Norwegian family. And with, of course, my Nordic heritage, I saw this and I was like, you know what? This seems like something, it's short and it has a lot of history and poetry in it, and I'd really like to check that out and read it. So it was something like $2 to $3, I think. I always love finding a good classic bargain, and I hadn't actually heard of this before, so I am very excited to read this and kind of use it as a heritage read a little bit. But I'm definitely going to be adding this to my classics shelf, and hopefully I can get to it sooner rather than later. Next up, Seanan McGuire's Rosemary and Rue, which is book 1 in her October Day urban fantasy series. Again, short, what I'm assuming is going to be a bingeable read. This font is massive. So I had read a little bit of the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I read book 1. I'm halfway through book 2 on audio right now, and I'm enjoying it. There are certain aspects of it that I could do without for sure, but urban fantasy has definitely been calling my name recently, and I've had several people recommend that I try this one. If there were things about Dresden that I didn't like, hey, why don't you try October Day? So what I understand about this is that October is a half fae, half human, who is kind of ignoring the fact that she has fae blood. She has turned her back on it, and she is kind of pulled back into that world in this urban fantasy setting. I believe in our real world, San Francisco Bay Area. So yes, in our world. And I just am curious to see what kind of flavor Seanan McGuire brings to urban fantasy, because I know that she's a very popular author. She has a lot of books that a lot of people speak very highly of, so I'm curious to see what October Day has, especially since after reading a little bit of Dresden, I am definitely in the mood for more of that flavor. The next one is a book that I've been waiting for months. This was a release day buy. This is one of the first release day purchases I have made in a store, in a Barnes & Noble, in years. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have been eagerly awaiting this as well. And that, of course, is the last contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. I knew the minute that she announced this book was coming out, based on the premise, I was all over it. It is a corporate, aging, female samurai, like assassin, bounty hunter, who takes one last contract before she's planning on being done, retiring, etc. And I anticipate that Fonda Lee is going to rip my heart out of my chest, stomp all over it, and then lovingly give it back. Because that's what she did in Greenbone Saga, and I've read a couple of her other things since then, and I'm just so excited to read more Fonda Lee. I think she's a brilliant character writer. This sounds just so intriguing and right up my alley, and I cannot wait to read it. I'll be reading it on my birthday vacation in the next couple of weeks, and you guys, I am just so ready to delve into whatever it is Fonda Lee has cooked up for us in this book. Last but not least, I received a physical copy from a Kickstarter of a good friend of mine, Kai Esso, who published her first epic fantasy volume with Shazwick of Land, Time Becomes Relevant. This is volume 1, and I want to say a trilogy, but that might be wrong. So Kai, I know you'll be watching this video. Let me know if it's longer than 3 volumes and I got it wrong. Let me know down in the comments. But this is a beautifully artworked epic fantasy that is told through the lens of a love story, and it is based very heavily on Chinese immortal fantasy stories, which, say no more. I was so there. I was so ready as soon as she started dropping information about it, and she had a very successful, great Kickstarter, and I am super, super proud to finally have this book going on my shelves, and I cannot wait to read it and just see how amazing this story is. And I think it's going to be a very unique, very fresh take on epic fantasy, and I am so ready for that. The other Kickstarter that I received was a very near and dear special one, and that was the Honor Anthology. I haven't been able to hold these up in a book haul yet. I got them about a month ago, and you guys, I'm so proud of these books. So for those of you that don't know, the Honor Anthology is a sci-fi fantasy anthology featuring 22 indie sci-fi and fantasy authors, including yours truly. And there were 2 versions of this. We did the Kickstarter last fall, and it just went so incredibly well. And it has these absolutely beautiful foiled copies with sprayed edges. This was the Jade Dragon version. You could pick between the 2 covers, or you could get them both. Obviously I got them both because they're both beautiful. This one is kind of the more sci-fi leaning cover with that beautiful purple, and again the foiled edges with all of the authors' names on the back, and the beautiful sprayed edges. And look, I don't know, get my face out of there. There it is. There's me. This anthology was such a labor of love, you guys. It was such a huge team effort from every author, from everyone who was involved in the production of this, from the artists, the editors, everything. And I wrote a story in this anthology that was a dedication to my grandfather, who passed away about little over a month and a half ago. And I'm so thankful that I have these absolutely beautiful anthologies with that story inside them. And it was kind of crazy because these actually released officially the day after he passed. So these have a very special meaning for me, outside of just having met so many incredible authors, being able to be a part of such an amazing project, and these absolutely beautiful, beautiful anthologies. The artists really outdid themselves. The end papers are beautiful. There's the one on the back. There are so many different color illustrations in here. They're absolutely beautiful. Here is my story. It's on page 427. And Zach Diamante, who's the author that put all this together, had this absolutely beautiful artwork commissioned to go with my story, and I absolutely love it. I love the story so much. I am so incredibly proud of it. Huge thank you to Zach for asking me to be part of this project. Thank you to all of my incredible fellow authors who put their all into their stories. This is going to be something I'm going to treasure forever, and I hope everyone who has been receiving their copies is also just absolutely in love with them because they're beautiful. There will be a limited supply of these. I do have a few of them listed on my website down below in the description box at toritekkan.com. So if you are feeling the FOMO and you'd really like to get one of these beauties for yourself, please feel free to check them out on my bookstore on the website. All right, let's go through the books that I replaced. So these are all books that I already owned, so I'm not counting them towards my books purchased this year because I've unhauled the books that were the mass market paperbacks, and I am purchasing larger copies. The first one is Green Rider. This mass market paperback I let go of, I think, a year plus ago, and I have always absolutely loved these covers. Green Rider by Kristen Britton is a classic epic fantasy about a young woman named Kerrigan, I think is her name. And she's kind of a warrior, kind of a little bit of a rebel spirit, and this is a pretty long series. That's the only reason I'm a little intimidated by it, because there are, I think, over 8 or 9 books in this series so far, and it's still ongoing. She's been writing it for something like 2 decades, I think. I'm trying to remember exactly when this one came out. This first book was published in 1998, you guys. I was 7 years old when this book was published, and it's still going. She just released another book, I think, this year. I can't remember if it was in this series or not, but I absolutely love these covers so much, and I ended up going with blackwells.com and getting the UK edition because they're a nice size, they're a little bit larger font, and also they have these beautiful black and colored covers. So I was able to replace that one. Also from Blackwells, I purchased the Farseer trilogy. I finally replaced my super bad cover mass market paperbacks with these beautiful foil UK edition paperbacks. So I also bought these from Blackwells, and obviously I'm missing one. It is a little bit later coming than these two. It will be here in the next couple of days. So we're just going to count it as part of this haul video. But I'm really excited to have physical copies of this trilogy. Again, I am planning on jumping back into Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings this year with Tawny Man, and I can't wait. I'm honestly so excited to read more Fitz and the Fool, you guys. It's a great trilogy. Robin Hobb has earned her queen's crown in fantasy. Very well deserved. So very excited to have these on my shelves again, and I couldn't resist the slight foiling on the UK editions, so I ended up getting them from overseas instead. Another one that I replaced was The Dreamer's Pool, which is book 1 of the Blackthorn and Grimm trilogy by Juliette Marillier, which in her own words is the best series she's written. So couldn't say no to that, and I really want to read it soon, and I knew that if I just had the mass market paperback, I probably would not get to it as fast. I do order a lot of books on eBay, and I know a lot of people get nervous about that, and I completely understand why, because one of the things that drives me a little bonkers is I don't mind having secondhand books, and I don't even mind if they are ex-library books, but I would really like it if I knew they were an ex-library book prior to purchasing them. So when a lot of eBay sellers don't put in the description anywhere, they'll be like, it's in good condition, and they will neglect to mention that it is an ex-library book and it has stickers and stuff, you know, the Mylar taped to the front of the book. So if I were to remove all of that, I don't know what shape this book would be in. It's fine. I'm still going to read it. It's still going to be fine. I do just wish that eBay sellers would be more upfront with books that are ex-library versus not, because I think it definitely makes a difference in the quality of the books that you get. So, but that's not the book's fault, and I am really excited to read this. And I think that the artwork, again, is really beautiful. I know with the Mylar it's a little hard to see, but really beautiful, and I'm excited to check out another Juliette Marillier series. Last but not least, in my ordered replacement copies, is this absolutely stunning broken binding version of Tai-Pan, which is the second book in the Asian saga by James Clavell after their stunning production of Shogun, which I love, and I also purchased. I love this cover. I absolutely love the style of these covers. It is one of my favorite book cover styles I've ever seen. That really kind of minimalist, monotone, kind of painterly slashes of color style. Absolutely love. And Taipan came out recently, and I wanted to add it to my collection of Asian saga books. It's absolutely stunning. I think they really outdid themselves with this one. I love it, and I'm really looking forward to reading Taipan at some point. And I was replacing a smaller paperback copy of it, so now I will have another of these beautiful hardbacks. The last stack of books are books that I was gifted or sent over the last few months. And the first one is from a fellow indie author of mine, Jacqueline Holmes, who I met at Dragonsteel in December last year. I had purchased her Lightwalkers book, and she sent me a replacement copy recently. And along with that copy, I was sent The Knife I Carry, which is, I think, a prequel novel to her Lightwalkers series. And she sent this to me as an extra gift alongside the Lightwalkers first novel. So I'm very excited to check this out. It is a YA fantasy, and I feel like it's based on light magic from what I remember. And I'm really excited to check it out. I've heard really good things, and I think there is some nature magic going on as well beyond just the light. So very excited about that. I've noticed that I'm really into kind of elemental magic recently, and I don't know if that's just a phase we're going through or what, but huge thank you to Jacqueline for sending me along a copy of The Knife I Carry, which I believe is a brand new release. So go check out her stuff and give her a good happy book birthday. Next up, I ordered a book from my friend Marianne, and she very kindly sent me an extra book that she really loves. She and I have a shared love of the Books of Babel by Josiah Bancroft, Senlin Ascends. And this is another series that she really loves, and she has put out something on Instagram recently saying, hey, does anybody have recommendations along the same lines of this and Senlin Ascends? And I'm very curious, because just the cover is really, really interesting. I think this was originally published in French, and it was just recently translated. I think I have that right. I actually don't know that much about this series, you guys. I had it on my TBR on Goodreads because a lot of people had spoken very highly of it. And there is a character in here who can walk through mirrors, which is really cool. And I think there are floating island castles based on the cover. I have no idea what to expect, but if Marianne recommends it that highly, that's enough for me. And I'm very excited to read something that maybe, obviously isn't the Books of Babel, but maybe has a tiny step in that direction of flavor. So thank you so much, Marianne, for sending me the extra copy of this. Next is a gift from my very good friend Joanna from Joanna Reads. She knows that I read a lot of military and war nonfiction and historical fiction and all of that, and she had recently read Hiroshima by John Hersey. And she did warn me, not surprisingly, that this is a very heavy read, so I'm definitely going to be picking this up at a time when I know that I'm in the right headspace for it. But she was really impacted by this read and said it was really phenomenally done, and sent me a copy of it because she thought that I would also get a lot out of reading this. So thank you so much, Joanna. I am definitely interested in checking this out in the near future. I think it's going to be a really, really powerful read, and I appreciate you thinking of me. Now this one is so cool because it is so niche, and also it just shows how well my audience and friends know me at this point on BookTube. My good friend Angie, who has a fairly new BookTube channel, which I will link down in the description below, Covers, Spines, and Pages, she sent me a birthday gift from an indie author talk that she went to. And it is When Montana Outraced the East by Catherine Mellon Mosier. This is literally a book about the Montana horse racing farms who for a space of time in American history, were challenging and winning the really big racehorses from the East and West Coast. Is that incredibly niche? Yes. Is this also just an example of how well my book people know me? Also, yes. I already read the prologue. I'm so intrigued. When I was young, I used to be a huge nerd about horse racing history and went out to Kentucky and saw all the racetracks and went to some of the farms, and like, it was a big deal. So very intrigued by this aspect of racing history, and I really appreciate, Angie, you thinking of me, and I'm very excited to read this. All right, my last few books were actually a Mother's Day gift from my husband and kids. They took me to Barnes & Noble, and my husband gave me a budget and said, pick something out, which was very, very sweet. So what I ended up getting was 2 more volumes of Cat Plus Gamer, which is a manga that I have been absolutely loving this year. I read the first 3 volumes in my manga 24-hour challenge, and I have volume 4, but I haven't read it yet because I wanted to get a couple more. And so now I have volumes 5 and 6. This is about a young woman who's single and she has a 9-to-5 job, and then she goes home and she video games. Like, she's a serious video gamer, and she kind of accidentally ends up with a cat. And as soon as she has this cat, hijinks ensue, and we get to see the evolution of a brand new pet parent, and it is delightful, it is light, it is so wholesome, it is beautifully drawn, and I absolutely love it. So I'm really excited to continue this series. There's only 8 volumes, so if you're looking for a shorter manga series that is really sweet, light, wholesome, but also not in a sense that there's like nothing to it, please check this out because I absolutely love it and I highly recommend. The last thing that I got on that little Barnes & Noble shopping spree was A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin. Now, Martin and I have a kind of roller coaster relationship in terms of the stories and characters and everything. I think he leans pretty far to the grim, dark side of things for me. There are things about Game of Thrones that I absolutely love. There are things about it that I really don't love. Ben and I decided to watch the TV series A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms and loved it. We absolutely loved the TV series. And I was like, you know what? I would read this. I want to get the book. This is a collection of 3 novellas about the main characters from Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Dunk and Egg. And they are a hedge knight and his squire, and it is a beautiful, wholesome relationship. It's basically someone challenging Martin to write actual heroic fantasy. And the story is so sweet and beautiful. It's got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of heartache. And I'm actually really excited to check this out. And the copy that I got has these really cool little illustrations in it, which I didn't actually even realize until just now, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm excited to check this out. I already fell in love with Dunk and Egg. Like, they're such a wholesome pairing of characters, and I love them. So I'm very excited to read this. And I don't think the show goes through everything that's been written about them, so I'm looking forward to getting some of their story that I haven't seen or read yet. Martin's a very good writer, so I am really looking forward to reading something else of his. Well, guys, that is officially my first book haul of 2026, which is kind of impressive compared to the last couple of years where I was doing a book haul almost every month. So to get through 5 months before doing a book haul feels pretty amazing. Again, I may have one in June after my birthday has come and gone when I go out book shopping. However, I'm not intending on just buying the store. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just do a shopping vlog and that'll be the equivalent of it. I would love to know down in the comments if you've gotten any new books recently, or if there's something that's been sitting in your cart for a really long time that keeps bothering you every time you see it. Let me know. I want to hear about it. And I hope that you are having a fantastic week. Hope that you are reading some 5-star reads, and I will see you in the next video.